What's up, everybody? Welcome back. It's Wes, Hank, and Andy. Here we are again, back for our delayed installment of the Fan Batch, or as I'm calling it this week, the Asajj Ventress Show. I was debating how to bring that up, and in my mind, I'm like, do I ask? Did something happen this week?
Maybe.
Did something happen? I don't know what you're talking about.
I was right.
You were right. You were right. That's so
true.
Yeah, it is the Fan Batch. This one, 3.9, the Harbinger. Certainly, Andy, you did sort of on the nose.
I put my money on, I backed that horse.
You predicted last week that whoever was on the phone with Fennec was indeed Asajj Ventress. Turns out that was 100% correct.
Yep. Who else are you going to turn to for midichlorians?
I don't know. But we don't know who she knows.
True.
So, but the bounty hunter connection just seemed to be the most logical thing. I felt like that was an easy connection to make.
Yeah. Especially the circle she runs with and connections she's made thus far.
Especially with when you consider the spoiler-free spoiler that they gave us before the season started, that they're kind of.
Oh, by the way,
all roads point to episode 9.
Yeah, all the media got the first 8 episodes, and all of the reviewers were all saying, "Nope, she's not in the first 8."
Which is kind of why I'm fairly disappointed.
That was a lie,
because I would expect more, I guess, maybe from. I mean, not the character's fault. Who do we blame here? The writer? I'm not sure. I don't know. It feels like a dropped ball. Perhaps maybe she is coming back later on in the season. I know that StarWars.com made a point of talking about how we are going to get resolution for her story, which we get 0 of.
Yeah.
And I wasn't expecting that. Like, that's kind of not what I was expecting, but I wasn't expecting it to be like, a cameo.
Our showrunners, Brad Rao and Jennifer Corbett, they have been making the rounds, placating, as it were. I don't know if that's the right word, but there was a lot of
damage control.
Yeah, exactly. There was a lot of discussion about what was undone, and you know what? I don't know if we can actually say that anything was undone, because, and I'm going to remind. Early reminder, remember what became Dark Disciple was actually the developed or undeveloped plots or scripts from a Clone Wars arc. So we don't know what was ultimately planned for that character. And this might have been the end game all along, that she was never going to stay deceased. We don't know that.
Mm-hmm. There was conversations that they were talking about with like Dave Filoni where they're like, we'd like to bring this character back. And then they had a discussion on how to. So when they gave the okay to kill her off in Dark Disciple novel, it was probably, that all goes through that Pablo Hidalgo guy and the story group.
Yeah.
And I guess it all goes through Dave now.
I'm going to bring it up a little bit later. I've got a slide to sort of talk about how far along in development that was. The Clone Wars arc for her death was called Dark Disciple. This is just one of those. When season 6 was canceled, when the show was canceled after season 6, they made a point to tell us there will be more Clone Wars stories in other media. We got the Darth Maul book, and we got this one as well. The Darth Maul comic book arc.
And it's excellent too.
Yeah,
and
then we got this
so many missing pieces.
Right.
We got most of it except for the Boba arc. Realistically, I'm not sure if the Rafa sisters per se was like that, but we got that revised arc. We got the revised Ahsoka arc, just pushed all the way to a sort of season 7.
We did. Take a second here. Doug's here. Hey, Doug. Doug wants to know, is this her only episode? We don't actually know.
So far,
we don't know.
It would.
I'm kind of banking on everybody coming back for the.
I feel like with that finale being titled, the Cavalry, or Here Comes the Cavalry, or whatever, the derivative of Cavalry.
Cavalry has arrived.
Yeah, Cavalry has arrived. That just seems like, okay, whatever we got, throw it in.
It would be remiss to not bring the character back.
Yeah.
I would be suitably upset.
Yeah, absolutely.
How about this? We get a spin-off show from this, The Adventures of Fennec and Asajj.
Now, see,
I'm okay with that.
And it's
I
just
said in the chat earlier this week, like, are we literally getting 3 years of a throwaway show just to introduce? Because in my head, I know she wouldn't make a good teacher, but in my head, the Ventress training Omega dynamite stuff.
I don't know if I'm there yet. I mean, certainly there was.
Ventress isn't. Maybe she's not a good teacher, but she's not a bad person. You know what I mean? She's as gray as any of them, having gone that far and come back, and contains a sense of morality. I think that would be an awesome, like, that would be the main thoroughfare, especially if we'll get there. But they were so wishy-washy at the end there. Well, we've come this far. What's the answer? Yes and no.
That's right. Yeah. Jamazon over on YouTube just saying, hi, Cajun guys. Love Janice. Hi, Janice. Nice to hear from you. Thanks for dropping in. And a hello back to you.
Hope it was a nice walk today.
All right. We should probably get to the business at hand. We're already a couple of days late. So, I mean, if you have held on and you've stayed spoiler free, or you've stayed away from all the other reviews just to watch our little show,
congratulations.
Yes, congratulations. Yeah. Also, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. Before we get to the business at hand, let's open up the cage here, rattle the guy here, and have another one of those
bad Star Wars jokes.
All right, everybody. Where did I put it? There it is. Guys, I got a question for you. What is General Grievous's favorite band?
Oh,
Metallica.
I know this, but I don't want to spoil it.
You can spoil it.
Ooh, you look just like Obi-Wan.
Weezer.
Excellent joke. Excellent joke. Love the bit of trivia that that George Lucas had a hacking cough during the first few days of filming Revenge of the Sith, and that they sampled it and kept it for a Grievous sound.
That's it. That's Grievous's hack.
Nice.
Weezer. It's delayed, but hey.
Weezer.
By the way, Hank, I know you sent it to us earlier this week. We had seen it earlier in the week. The Star Wars dad joke book.
Joke book.
I actually made a comment that they showed that off on StarWars.com.
Yeah,
on their social media, and I posted on their Facebook to say, hey, we've been reviewing new Star Wars media for the last 3 years.
Yeah,
every show starts with a bad/dad Star Wars joke.
And I think we were like ahead of the curve. They started that during COVID, and I think we were maybe just under the wire there.
We were, yeah, but we've been using it now for
near
quite a while, 3 years.
Right? Yeah,
yeah. So
for sure.
All right, are you guys ready to get into this? We are going to spend. I know we just sort of scratched the surface on the return of Asajj Ventress, and admittedly, we're going to spend quite a bit more time with her tonight, because that is the high point of the episode. We all want to talk about it. We all want to have those questions answered for us. We don't have the answers. I don't have the answers. We're going to speculate on some of it, but I would like to present a few things in the way that I like to present them, kind of chronologically, so we can all look at it together and go, "Oh, maybe I didn't know that." All right, let's get to it. This one, it is season 3. Episode 9, 3.9, The Harbinger. It originally aired on Wednesday, March 27th, 2024. This one written by Jennifer Corbett, directed by Stuart Lee. Has a runtime of 27 minutes as advertised, or an actual 23 minutes, 58 seconds without titles or credits. And our episode synopsis this week reads, as the batch plans their next move, a mysterious stranger arrives. It wasn't so mysterious after all. Wait a minute. What's going on here? Why is our comment person in the stream? Get out, comments.
I'm in there.
Did I do that on purpose?
Maybe.
I don't think I meant to. And let's move. That's better. I'm like, why does this look so like messed up? There we go. That's what I'm looking for. There
I
we
couldn't
go.
put my finger on it, but yeah, there we are.
Something looks wrong here. There we go. I got it all fixed up now. Okay. Our episode opens on Pabu, but something is different this time. The sky is gray and overcast, and the entire color palette of the island is muted, almost as if we're foreshadowing something.
Hmm.
That's recurrent, by the way.
It is. Like even at nighttime shots, you still get like the little dots of light and it's still warm and
Yeah,
inviting.
yeah, but not this episode. No. At the docks, Crosshair and Wrecker help load supplies onto a fishing boat. Crosshair sets down a crate at the bow of the boat, and the woman piloting it thanks him. Uncomfortable as ever, Crosshair grunts awkwardly, and the two men walk away as the boat heads out into open water. As they go, Wrecker claps Crosshair on the shoulder, playful, and he jokes, "Oh, look at that, you made a new friend." At the bottom of the staircase, Hunter meets them, and he tells them that after checking the Havoc Marauders' comm log, there still hasn't been any word from Fennec. And Crosshair asks, when do we wait around for intel? And Hunter says that she's the only lead they have, and if her contact can tell them what an M count is, they might be able to figure out why the Empire is after Omega. Crosshair rhetorically asks, does it matter? We're not handing her over. But Hunter reminds him that they can't be prepared if they don't know what they're dealing with. That seems rather short-sighted on his part, though. I mean, it's the Empire. What do you think you're up against?
Yeah.
Everything, my friend. Everything.
Pretty good
Knowing
sense.
is half the battle.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, at the bay where Crosshair has been famously doing target practice, Omega tosses a stick for Badger to fetch, but the Lurka Hound is more interested in chasing some more Munoz down the beach. Omega calls out to Badger, but she just ignores her and runs. So Omega chases after them. Now, the Munoz run into a huge cavern, but strangely, Badger holds fast at the opening. Catching up with the Hound, Omega is surprised when Badger begins to whimper, especially considering that the two of them have been in this cavern many times before. Still, she says she'll go and check it out. And turning on a flashlight, she wanders inside. Still, Badger remains fixed outside, not wanting to enter the cave. After a short climb onto a flat ridge, Omega pans her light around and she's shocked to see a blade-shaped starfighter parked on a ledge. This is a new class of fighter that we have never seen before, but the descriptive audio does say it is a fighter. Not a transport, not a shuttle. It's a fighter. I will say this: it does give me B-wing vibes.
It's got
B-wing
a cockpit like a bomber.
in the in the closed landing configuration. It reminds me of a B-wing.
Yeah, like a fixed wing version.
Yeah, almost. Omega approaches the ship and she runs her hand over the hull. Then the sound of Badger's whimpering gets her attention again. Turning to look, Omega asks, "Where are you going?" as the Hound barks and then backs away from the cavern. Sensing something behind her, Omega whirls around to find a pale-faced woman with short blonde hair standing beside her. Asajj Ventress. All right, now, she's back. Like it or not, she's back, and if she's back, we better just explore her origins just a little bit more. So, let's get in. Let's chew on Asajj for a little bit. I did not know this before I did the research for this episode. However, her first appearance was not in animation; it was a comic book appearance. This right here, this is a concept art for the character. Now, this is back. This is early on in the development of Attack of the Clones, when the art department came up with this character, who would have been the main antagonist, but that character was eventually evolved into Count Dooku. Now, the character got her name, Asajj Ventress. She's named after the character Asajj in Akira Kurosawa's Throne of Blood, and I can't help but wonder if the forehead markings on Asajj are carried over to Asajj.
Yeah, maybe just a little.
That was a very interesting take on it. All right, her first appearance was actually in February 2003. This was a Dark Horse comic book, Star Wars Jedi Mace Windu. That's in February. Later on that year, in November, she made the leap to the small screen in Chapter 6 of Genndy Tartakovsky's Clone Wars animated shorts. In that series, she was voiced by Gray Delisle, sometimes credited as Gray Griffin. Now, you might know Gray Griffin. She's done a few things. Martin Prince on The Simpsons. It's a relatively new character. She's Monster Girl on the Prime Video series Invincible, if you've been watching that. She's Evil Lynn on the kids' Netflix He-Man and the Masters of the Universe. And by the way, Gray Griffin is the voice of Daphne Blake on every Scooby-Doo project between 2000 and 2021.
Oh, crazy.
So yeah, she's been around for a long time. I actually thought that it was the same voice actor on both series, to be honest. They have a very similar quality. But it wasn't. All right. Now her next appearance, this is a kind of a funny one. Her next appearance is she shows up in 2008 in September in the Force Unleash as a playable skin in the dual mode of Star Wars: The Force Unleashed, also voiced by Gray Griffin here, and then makes the leap to the big screen 1 month later. Funny, just like the comic book, from comic book to television series in the same year. We go from video game to feature film in the same year in October in the Clone Wars animated film, where she has been voiced by Nika Futterman, who is, in fact, still playing the role today. Nika has over 300 acting credits, but younger viewers might recognize her as Luna on The Loud House, Cuckoo Lock on several Disney productions, and tons of one-off voice roles in television and video games going all the way back to 1991. She's been around for a long time.
Cool.
And that brings us to what I would call the many looks of Asajj Ventress, what I call her contemporary looks. We have her original Clone Wars look when she was still apprenticed to Count Dooku. And then we skip ahead, to season 6, where she's got her bounty hunter look. She's adopted that shoulder plate. We're going to talk a little bit about that here in a second. And then we have her look as of right now in the Bad Batch, where the only thing that carries over from any of those is the shoulder armor piece. Now, her current look is actually from the 2012 in the previously unused look that she would have had in the season 6 Dark Disciple arc had that show not been canceled. You can actually see it right in there. It says Dark Disciple right in the artwork. Now that arc did become the novel of the same name. Oh, we got Sarah chiming in from on YouTube tonight. Sarah says Asajj looked very cool in this episode. I thought so as well. I know some people were complaining about the haircut, but it was inconsequential to me. I thought she looked fantastic. In fact,
that was awesome.
She looks better with hair than she does without. That's my opinion. Yeah. So there's everything that we got from her look in this week's episode is stuff that was supposed to get used back in season 6. So yeah, minus the bow, because we didn't see the bow come up, nor whatever these funky goggles that she's wearing either. But that's some very cool artwork. Glad to see that has surfaced and that they're able to use that. Now, checking in with the Star Wars Databank on this week's episode guide, we have a little blurb about her shoulder piece, and specifically the black snake symbol seen on Asajj Ventress's arm first appeared in the Clone Wars as part of her bounty hunter look. The rest of her costume in Star Wars: The Bad Batch is new. Now, the snake was chosen as it, like Ventress, is an often misunderstood creature. So no deep ulterior Star Wars connection there that we all kind of hoped was going to be. But also, do you guys not think that the angular features, she looks rather serpentine?
A little bit.
Yeah.
There's always that old adage, like, don't turn your back on a snake because you'll get bit.
Yeah. It's in its nature.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. All right, getting back to the episode. As later on, as the boys walk along the beach, they're alerted by Batcher, who comes running toward them barking. Wrecker is concerned that Omega isn't with her, and they all chase after Batcher all the way back to the cavern.
Where's Omega, Lassie?
Yeah, really? Timmy fell down the well? And as they arrive, Ventress exits the cave, dragging Omega by the wrist. Now, they order her to let Omega go, which she does, before telling them that for a bunch of rogue clones who are trying to lay low, they are failing spectacularly. Looking at Omega, she adds, especially that one. Crosshair asks her who she is, and Ventress tells them that Fennec Shan sent her. Hunter remarks that they never gave Fennec their coordinates and wonders how she found them. Asajj, being both a Force user and a bounty hunter, tells them that she has her ways. She takes a few steps toward the clones before telling them it's very reckless for them to be asking about M count because it attracts the wrong kind of attention. When Hunter asks her why is that, she demands they tell her first why they want the information.
Now, this is going back to what Hank said there when Rex told them, find out about M count. And you had said that's pretty reckless to go asking around like that.
Yeah.
But here she is now telling them the same thing. So
absolutely. Well, met with stoic silence, Ventress says, consider it my payment. Hunter tells her that they already paid Fennec for the intel, but Asajj isn't concerned with that, and she tells them either they talk or she leaves. All of them stand there with their arms folded across their chests in a kind of silent standoff. And then Omega blurts out, it's for a friend. But Omega's lips move faster than her brain can think of the words, and she stutters through how the Empire is after this friend because some kind of M-count experiments they know nothing about. And it's pretty easy for Asajj to see through her. Ventress looks down at Omega and tells her it's something in the blood, and everyone has it, but at varying levels. And those with higher counts were believed to be more capable at wielding the Force. Hunter repeats, the Force? You mean Jedi? And shocked, Omega drops the for a friend act as she blurts, you're saying I'm a Jedi?
Oops.
Yeah, exactly. Ventress tells her it's not blood that makes someone a Jedi, that it requires training, and she's never known a clone to be Force sensitive. But looking at them, it's clear that none of them are normal. She remarks that the Kaminoans made millions of clones, and she thinks it might be possible, but if Omega does have a high M count, to consider herself warned, because the Empire will hunt her down. With the intel delivered, Asajj begins to walk back to her ship, but Omega runs after her, asking her to wait. She asks if that's why the Empire has been after her, and Ventress tells her that she can't determine her midichlorian count without testing her. Drops the word. We got a full midichlorian name drop. Does that sit well with everybody?
That's fine.
Sure. Sits fine with me. I don't have a
problem. I'm way over that.
Yeah.
She just doesn't have the Gillette razor to test her.
That's right. To plug the blood sample into.
That's right.
Well, Omega needs to know, and she beckons the former Dark Disciple to test her, adding that she can handle it. Ventress tells Omega to believe her when she says the truth is rarely comforting. But Omega pleads with her, saying that no one has been able to give her any answers, and she needs to know what she is. Ventress sighs, fine, but just remember, you asked for this. When she goes down that line of that sort of thought about the answer is rarely comforting, do you think that is a reflection of her own story about being captured and taken away from Dathomir?
Maybe.
I kind of took that like to be like the line from Empire Strikes Back. Like, I'm not afraid. You will be.
Oh, really? I kind of wondered if this was part of a deeper part of her story. Like she was captured as an infant by the pirate Halstead. Then she was later on rescued from said pirates and trained by the Jedi Knight Kai Narek, who was stranded on the planet where he was fighting the pirates. And then she's orphaned when Kai Narek is killed. And then she turns to the dark side before being forced into gladiatorial combat until she was discovered by Count Dooku, who eventually abandons her after trying to have her killed at the behest of Darth Sidious. I thought that all of that holistically all together was sort of her kind of talking about her own story, like finding out you're Force sensitive is not necessarily the greatest thing.
True.
That's my 2 cents on it. Well, later that evening, Ventress begins testing Omega in the cavern. With a piece of fruit on her head, Omega stands atop a large rock on one leg with her arms stretched out. She complains that the rock is slippery and asks if they can go someplace else. She doesn't understand how standing here on one leg has anything to do with an M count. And if this doesn't sound like one Luke Skywalker when he first got to Dagobah. Ventress tells her that. Sorry,
the Grogu test too. Like,
yeah. Here, take the ball. Ventress tells her that she's focusing on the wrong things and tells Omega to stop trying to have balance and let go of her conscious mind. Now, Omega's not even sure what that means, but she is sure that the rocks are slippery, and she tumbles over while Ventress snatches the piece of fruit mid-fall. Tossing it back to her, she instructs Omega to try again, while Wrecker off to the side shouts encouragingly, "You can do it!" Ventress looks at him and Hunter and suggests they make themselves scarce. But Hunter says that won't be they won't be letting either of them out of their sight. Facing them, she sighs, "How fun for me." And at that exact moment, Omega falls again. And for the second time, Ventress catches the fruit in midair, not even looking at it. Omega gets back to her feet and Ventress tosses the fruit back. Again, she orders. With the fruit on her head, Omega tries to make small talk. "Seeing as you know about these tests, you must be a Jedi, right?" Ventress tells her she isn't a Jedi, but she does know some of their ways. And before Omega can finish asking, "But how?" Ventress pinches her mouth shut. "Enough questions," then forcing her head forward as she tells her, "Concentrate." Omega closes her eyes, and Ventress steps back to observe her. I did like the comedic moment in that, the pinching her mouth shut.
Yeah.
I thought that was kind of funny.
I figure if it was like an old pie may, there'd be a stick there, just whack, whack, back into form.
Really. Just then, Crosshair joins them in the cave. He tells them that he checked Tech's files from the Republic archive and then shows them a pad. "You are right. It's her, Asajj Ventress." Ventress, aware that they are talking about her, scowls, while Wrecker asks, "Why would a separatist assassin be helping them?" Crosshair remarks, "Who says that's what she's doing?" Ventress half turns toward them, and Omega slips and falls for the third time. Stepping onto the rock, Ventress offers Omega a hand up as she asks what happened. Omega reminds her that the rocks are slippery, but she'll start over. Ventress tells her there's no need because they're moving on to the next test. Looking up at the top of the island mountain, Ventress tells Omega that there is a weeping Maya tree, and she is to retrieve one of its white blossoms and return to her with it before the sun sets. Omega says it's too far away, and the sun is already going down. But with a harsh look from Ventress, Omega stops complaining and she runs off to complete the task. This week's Orabesh comes courtesy of me. And I put a little work into it. I thought I would try to get it right on the pad for you. We've got her name, and then we have last known location, list of offenses, record ID, and additional notes. So yeah, simple stuff. With Omega out of the cavern, Ventress lets the rest of the clones know that she overheard them and suggests that they think it over very carefully how they want to proceed. It's almost the elevator scene in Winter Soldier. Anybody want to get off?
Yeah.
Another strange juxtaposition here. We have Asajj Ventress bathed in light where the clones are shadowed in darkness. Is there something more going on here, or is it just that's the lighting for the scene?
Was I the only one that was like, just kill them and take the girl?
Yeah, I think I never
like. I actually realized this moment. I was like, I actually don't care about any of these characters now that I see them. Like, I know that in my heart when I see them with Rex.
Yeah.
But like right here, I went, oh my gosh, I actually don't care about any of these characters. Kill them and take Omega.
Interesting. I don't know if I'm there yet. I mean, the person I cared the most for died last season, so
or did he?
Well, we have yet to see if that's going to happen. So I am a little disconnected.
I want to watch Asajj Ventress way more than I want to watch anything that these guys do. I'm not even kidding. Like I kind of wish it wasn't that way, but I feel like, and then I started to think, wouldn't it have been cooler to watch Rex for 3 seasons?
I feel like I like Rex. I like the way that Rex is getting used now. I like that he is spare, like it's sparing, like a little dose of Rex. Yeah. I don't think I could do a whole show on Rex because I had so many seasons of the Clone Wars, and so many arcs where he was so prominently featured. I don't want less Rex, but I don't know if I need more, if that makes sense. Yeah. While we're here, I want to ask a question because I kind of thought about this second test. Go retrieve the the Blossom, I feel like she came up with that in the moment when she heard them talking about her, and that's not even a test. It's just get her out of the cave so she can talk to them.
And it's an impossible task. That's why she passes it. She gives her, here's something you can't possibly do. This will keep you out of my hair for the length, And in fact, without Batcher,
it's questionable that she would have made it at all.
Right.
Well, nobody said you couldn't, ride a dog.
No. That's like, I mean, that's a Jedi, using, it's like the best thing about Spider-Man is that he uses his brain to he could lift a train car, but he could still use his brain to outwit most villains. So that's perfectly in line with Jedi behavior.
This moment here too could double as foreshadowing. Again, in their darkest moment, someone's going to come save them.
Maybe,
yeah,
maybe. Well, I mean, does that add to the whole the cavalry aspect then?
I would think so.
Yeah. Okay. I'm good with that.
Unless the last episode title is a misdirect. I don't think it is, but
wouldn't that be terrible? The cavalry arrives on behalf of the Empire.
Yeah, the Empire's cavalry. The cavalry arrives. By the way, it's a brand new Imperial class Star Destroyer.
Don't let us write your kids' show.
So keep that in mind, because next week we're getting that double drop, and in light of everything that she says about them not being as safe here as they think they might be, we've been sort of going around the idea that Pabu's days are numbered.
It's been a given from it's bad luck follows clones. It doesn't matter if you're Clone Force 99 or Rex or even it just in the aftermath of this, you can't see, maybe it would be fun to visit Cut LaQuain and see if there's a normal life going on somewhere for somebody.
Yeah,
it would be nice to have at least one victory, but it seems like being a clone is just chaos in these times.
Something tells me he'll come back as part of the cavalry too.
That'd be great.
All right. Meanwhile, Omega runs as fast as she can up the stairs, weaving in and around people as she goes. Now, stopping to catch her breath, she spots Batcher chasing some Munoz, and she summons her with a whistle. I actually thought that the takeaway was, she's watching the Munoz climb right up the walls. And I thought that's what she was going to do. Why am I taking the stairs when I could just climb straight up?
Right.
Or even have Batcher chase them right up.
It makes you wonder. I mean, if the dog has enough climbing ability.
I would think so.
Like that thing that Obi-Wan rode in Revenge of the Sith. Yeah. Explaining that she needs some help to get to the colonnade, Omega climbs atop Batcher's back and begins to ride her up the stairs. All right. Back in the cavern, Ventress reminds the clones that they asked for her help. Hunter says that was before they knew who she was, and then demands that she leaves. Ventress says she'll consider it, but only after she's finished testing Omega, or maybe she'll even stick around a bit longer. Wrecker interjects and tells her to get in her ship and leave before they make her. Such a bad idea.
Make like a tree and get out of here.
Ventress says they're welcome to try. The boys shift into a more combat-ready stance as Crosshair tells her they've taken down worse, and Ventress answers with, "So have I." I was just going to let the imagery speak for itself. I was not going to narrate this, but it is so good.
Did anybody think they upped the frame rate for this? It seemed like almost rotoscoped.
I felt like it was very, very,
it was very really good. Really good. Very crystal clear.
Mm-hmm.
Take that, Transformers 1.
All right. So yeah, I did put some thought into this. I did try to narrate it a little bit. So let's work our way through it. And then the inevitable fight that we all knew was going to happen breaks out. But it is a very one-sided affair, with Ventress disarming the boys with a wave of her hand before any of them can even get a shot off. She tells them no cheating, and the three of them charge her. But this fight isn't even close, as she head weaves and or dodges multiple blows from both Hunter and Crosshair, while landing elbow strikes, uppercuts, and side kicks of her own. She even throws in a flying slap at Wrecker before taking pause to wait for the next round. All the while, she isn't even breathing heavy.
This is a different Asajj Ventress.
I actually expected her to do the
Neo.
And
not to scratch.
Yeah, exactly.
But at the same time, like, she's not even pulled her sabers yet. Like
Yeah.
back in the Clone Wars, first thing,
I know,
saber go.
lightsabers out.
But here, nope.
What I liked about this, and it's hard to say, like, where does the skill end and the force enhanced begin? But it is immediately clear that Asajj Ventress is a formidable martial artist, evidenced by how easily she drops Hunter on his face.
They're really kind of digging into that. It's an old ability from the RPG, the force assisted sort of martial arts, if you will.
You just it just like as a general all around buff.
Yeah, like
take my existing skill and just amp it up.
Right, and you're really seeing it. You see Ezra do it in the Ahsoka show, and now you see in the trailer for the Acolyte. It's almost exclusively that. There's a lot of lit lightsabers, but there's a lot of that, like Force Kundo or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, Force Kundo. I like that.
Terrascasi?
Oh, Terrascasi.
A little bit of Terrascasi.
Maybe
Could
yeah.
be a little bit of Terrascasi. Yeah,
that is canon now. It was canonized in Solo.
Totally. Yeah.
Well, sliding behind Wrecker, she takes him out at the knees, dropping him face first, before following that up with a massive flying elbow drop through the base of his neck. I thought she damn near killed him. Then Crosshair is on her with a sidekick that's aimed at her face, but it misses when Ventress rolls over backwards over Wrecker's body and back up onto her feet. She then leaps over Wrecker and delivers a sidekick of her own, and now she locks Crosshair up with a series of rapid punches to the chest. Now, the punches drive him back far enough for Ventress to throw a massive roundhouse kick to Crosshair's head. But it doesn't drop him, and instead he moves back in an attempt to subdue her with an arm lock. That proves to be futile as Ventress spins and contorts her body, moving with the lock, and eventually comes up in a position that allows her to leap up onto Crosshair, putting his head in a head scissor lock with her legs, and then she flips him to the ground. With Crosshair's arm locked in an arm bar and her leg across his neck, it could have been lights out for the reforming clone. But then Ventress is aware that Hunter is now back on his feet with a vibro knife in hand. With a swift heel to Crosshair's stomach, Ventress crawls back away from him just as Hunter throws his knife. But like an uncanny circus performer, Ventress catches the tumbling blade by the handle. Now, Wrecker, who is back on his feet, leaps into the air in an attempt to smash Ventress with both hands. Wrecker smash. Yeah, sorry, where is it? Yes, an attempt to smash with both hands. But he misses as she rolls over backward. But then Hunter is right there, having leapfrogged over Wrecker with a flying kick of his own. But even that misses as Asajj, who is now balanced on her shoulders, tucks her legs in, which causes Hunter to go long. She then kips up, vaulting back to her feet, and is now surrounded on two sides. Still with Hunter's knife in hand, she leaps over Wrecker, pulls back with her right hand before charging Wrecker and unleashing a force push that tumbles the big man back into Hunter, knocking them both down. Looking at the knife in her hand, she asks, "Tired yet?" While Hunter and Wrecker, both out of breath, slowly pull themselves back up to their feet. Hunter shouts at her, "What do you really want with Omega?" Ventress flips the knife over in her hand, catching it by the blade as she says, "Maybe I'll take her off your hands," before throwing the knife at the ground beside Hunter's foot. Yeah, intense. Mm-hmm. From behind, we hear the sound of a blaster being readied, and Crosshair levels his sniper rifle at her. Not happening. With his foot, he tosses Hunter and Wrecker's weapons into the air before catching them and throwing them to his brothers. Got a comment coming in here from Doug. What's Doug saying? Doug, I think not caring about them was the point up until this moment. Oh, now that they're getting their ass kicked, we need to care for them?
A little bit.
Maybe.
At this point, they can't protect
I was screaming, "Do it!" like Palpatine on the...
If we've gone this far, just go all the way. So not happening. Tosses their weapons and then throws them to his brothers. As the Bad Batch main theme crescendos with all three of them shoulder to shoulder, Crosshair joins them on the bluff, and all three clones take aim at her. Yeah, exactly, Doug. Yeah, the music.
Yeah.
Ventress tells them to be good little clones and stand down, but Hunter answers with, "We're not big on following orders." It's kind of a that's been a recurrent theme too.
Well, you know, they're like we know them really well. Like after 3 seasons in a Clone Wars arc, like
that's right. Yeah,
they're not going to back down. It doesn't matter if this was Darth Vader; they wouldn't back down.
Yeah, they're in it. They're committed, whether this was lethal or not.
So I have enough respect for them to understand that they're going to fight tooth and nail to their last breath always.
Yeah,
like they're clones at the end of the day, which is like my respect for that is universal for the clones. You know what I mean? Like,
they're doing exactly what they were bred to do. All right, where are we now? Sorry, we just went through. Yeah, stand down. We're not big on following orders. Okay. At the top of the colonnade, Omega reaches the weeping Maya tree. Climbing up its swooping trunk, she spots one of the white blossoms and excitedly picks it before leaping back onto Badger's back and riding back down to the cavern. How many times can I say back? Badger and back. Wow. A lot of bees.
There's only one white blossom on that thing, though.
There's more than one. That's just the first. Yeah, that's just the first one that she saw.
So I was gonna say, like, how force vision did she see that there is actually one up there?
This kind of maybe it's just me. I get a World War II vibe off of this one. You guys see Band of Brothers? In Band of Brothers, there's an episode where they spot one of the dead Germans has got an Edelweiss blossom on his lapel, and the intelligence officer tells him, "Oh, it's Edelweiss. It only grows above a certain level on a mountain, and it's the mark of a true soldier to go climb the mountain and get one."
It's got a Batman Begins kind of vibe to it as well. Like, bring me the white lotus and
yeah. A comment from Darkholder. Darkholder says they stood no chance, and they know that, but they never would yield as long as they have a job to do. Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Okay. In the cavern, Crosshair is the first to open fire on Ventress. And by the way, no stun rounds this time.
No.
We are fully engaged. Opens fire on Ventress. Ventress rolls her shoulder, avoiding the blast without taking her eyes off of the clones. Then the rest of them open fire, and she acrobatically leaps and rolls out of the way, avoiding a heavy barrage of fire. With the situation suddenly becoming far more lethal now, Ventress knows that her martial arts skills alone won't suffice, and she draws her lightsaber. Gone is the crimson blades of the former Darkside acolyte, replaced by a yellow blade that up until now has mostly been associated with Jedi Temple Guardians, and more recently, like it or not, Rey Skywalker, who's been positioned as something else between a Jedi and a Sith. With a flurry of motion, she spins and twirls the amber blade, deflecting everything leveled at her without reflecting any of it back at them, which she could have done.
Again, that's not the same massage Ventress.
That's right. Finally, the clones give pause, and Ventress scowls as she tells them she wasn't planning on killing them, but they are making it very tempting. Wrecker says, "We're good like that." And I saved it. I didn't put it in the many looks of Asajj Ventress because she hadn't pulled her lightsaber up until now. But seeing as we're here now, let's review Ventress's lightsaber, shall we? All right, here we go. On the left, courtesy of the high resolution photography from Hasbro Pulse, we have the Galaxy's Edge, the exclusive Ventress sabers, because they were the closest or the highest resolution images I could find. Now, these were stolen by Barriss Offee. So the lightsaber that she is currently wielding is a new lightsaber. And while it is of a similar construction, it is new. Is it not a reuse of the old ones?
It looks like they took Obi's original saber and just bent it.
Yeah, I can see that. I can see that for sure. I just think it's cool that, that's a design that she's cool with, that she likes. So she's gone back to that.
Totally familiar with, yeah.
The
original's modeled off Dooku's, right?
I heard another reviewer this past week say that she purchased this on the black market.
It's possible.
I suppose so. I still like the idea that she built it myself, but
I was wondering. I had forgotten that Barriss had stolen, and wasn't sure if she had managed to get her lightsabers back. I'd have to reread Dark Disciple, but I was thinking maybe this was like a failed attempt to heal the crystal. But
that's an interesting thought. It could be.
Yeah, yellow lightsabers are way more common now. Like, I mean, that in the Marvel comics, Luke is wielding one in between his blue and green saber while he tries to find it. Like, and I think you guys saw the Acolyte trailer. Like
Yeah, I mean, there's
every third,
lots.
yeah, there's lots of yellow lightsabers.
And then we just got another
kind of
one.
normalizing it.
Another thing I heard this week is in the anniversary for the Phantom Menaces this year. And Marvel is doing a run of Phantom Menace comic books to detail the time between the Phantom Menace and Attack of the Clones. And guess who's got a yellow lightsaber in that?
Oh,
Anakin Skywalker.
oh.
So, yeah, it's tough. I always thought of the yellow, at least I thought, when we were back in Rebels, and especially with what they did with Rey, I always thought that yellow was supposed to be this
middle ground,
something else. I don't know what middle ground. I don't know if that's the right word for it. I feel like it's an extension of that, like, you can, the dark side is just a tool. It's not,
all from a printing error too.
Yeah, exactly.
The whole thing surrounds a printing error.
As for my Luke Skywalker in 77 had a yellow one. It's totally fine. It's totally fine. But anyway, there we go. Yeah, and Andy, not two sabers, one saber. We just get to see it from two different sides. So yeah, she went from carrying a pair of them to now just one.
Or maybe she just felt that one was all she needed at this point.
Maybe she's got a second one, but we don't see it this episode. We do see that she's sporting a blaster pistol. I should have taken a better look at that. But the blaster pistol looks an awful lot like the blaster pistol on the back of Boba Fett's belt. So yeah. All right.
Bounties are us.
Oh, I never thought about that. I mean, Asajj Ventress could certainly be a gateway to Boba Fett too.
She could be. I don't think that. Well, and we talked about that last week too. Like in the who's on the phone? Who was on the phone with Fennec Shand?
Well, I believe it was Ventress now, but
of course, yeah.
When you consider that,
I feel like, well, we can talk about that now. You are right. It could be a gateway to Boba, but I think Fennec being sort of, the idea. Sorry, not Fennec. I don't think Asajj Ventress is bold enough to say be a guild member. She would not, especially someone who's supposed to be dead from the highest levels. Like she's a target as much as anybody is.
Yeah, that's probably true.
Uncount people. All right. Well,
I think there is something to be explored there, though. Like
in what sense?
Well, between Asajj Ventress and Fennec Shand, like if they did give their own spin-off, maybe that would explain why, Mandalorian, Boba Fett saves her.
Yeah. Maybe.
Well, I don't think that for any, like Lauren had said that earlier when we were talking, but I don't think that when he finds her dead in the sand or grievously wounded in the sand, that's the first time they've met. She's got like,
yeah.
Well, no, I mean like Boba.
Oh, Boba Fett. Yeah,
Boba takes her and repairs her, and she's got this level of disdain, like now I owe you one kind of thing. Like
that's
whether
true.
it's
That's true.
So I in my head there was this canon.
You want to talk
head canon?
You want to talk head canon? You want to pair up Asajj and Omega?
Yeah,
I'm still wanting a Gungi Omega thing, and I went so far as in my own head when Echo showed up with that new blaster, the new bow for her. Did he go to Kashyyyk and like get the thing? And is that a Kyber powered bow? With the green. Gungi wields a green lightsaber.
I mean, Ezra is flinging Kyber bolts, right? Like,
yes,
that could be dirty, man.
Yeah, she name dropped him last episode.
Yeah, Gungi and the other Wookiees.
So he's part of the cavalry.
Of course he is. Where did you learn all this?
Yeah, well, I was on Kashyyyk. You were where?
Gungi and the rest of the Wookiees on Kashyyyk. Exactly. All right, but then there is a good look at her new yellow lightsaber, courtesy of this week's episode guide. I talk about it quite a bit because we've been doing this now for 3 seasons and haven't really taken advantage of this. But now that I've sort of gotten sort of aware of it,
they're way better than they used to be.
Oh my God. Yeah, there's so much in there. We're going to come back to the episode guide too, a little bit later in the show. We got some more stuff to talk about, that little tidbits that come out in the guide that you don't necessarily get in the
It used to be just like a little press pack. It's so much more now.
Very much so. Well, Ventress, she charges the batch, and then the camera cuts to Omega riding up to the cavern on Batcher. She slides off the Lurka Hound, landing in a full sprint with her hand outstretched as she shouts, "I've got the white blossom!" But the scene before her stops her dead in her tracks as Crosshair lay crumpled while Ventress has Hunter on his back at saber point and Wrecker suspended a foot off the ground in a force choke. Both Ventress and Hunter notice Omega at the same time, but it's Omega that speaks first. With a fearful look, she shouts at Ventress, "Stop! What's going on?" Hunter says Ventress has been lying to them, and he calls her a war criminal. Ventress looks down at him and says that times have changed, something they should be familiar with. Hunter says they are not the same, adding that they were, Ventress adds that, yeah, they were pawns in the same war, and they all lost. She releases Wrecker, and he drops to his knees and catches his breath. Ventress then calls the Empire something more dangerous than they can possibly fathom, adding that she is many things, but not their enemy. She then deactivates her lightsaber, clipping it back to her belt as she walks back to her ship. Omega rushes to check on Wrecker, while Hunter and Crosshair collect themselves.
I think in that line right there, she is the harbinger of the episode.
Absolutely.
Like,
she's foretelling.
They've been getting lucky. They got Omega back once.
The
but now everything is coming after them.
Absolutely. And I think it ties into the, the whole island is now shrouded in mist. Everybody's shown in the dark. Not that the episodes haven't been dark all season, but like not just figuratively, they are, well, yes, metaphorically, they're in the dark. Something bad is about to happen. And that's why I say maybe next week, maybe as early as these 2 episodes coming up on next Wednesday, that this could spell the end for the idyllic livelihood on Pabu.
Mm-hmm. The next one is Identity Crisis and then Point of No Return.
Yeah.
And Point of No Return certainly sounds like your island just got blown.
It sure does. Yeah. Identity Crisis. I'm feeling that's tying back into our CX clone,
be.
Our CX clone, our
they
tech
could
clone.
They could
I don't know.
Really
or
swerve us, and it'd be like, am I a Jedi or not?
Well, Identity Crisis. It could be in relation to Emery.
True.
Do you know what I mean?
Oh, that's true too.
Darkholder wants us to know that the best advice Ventress gave them is to keep moving. Yep.
Don't put down roots.
I cannot argue with that one. All right. So that night, let me move on here. That night, the clones meet on the Havoc Marauder. Wrecker stands on guard in the doorway, while in the cabin, Hunter explains to Omega why she can't trust Ventress. He says, she doesn't know what Ventress did during the war, but they do. Omega asks, if she's as bad as you're saying she is, then why didn't she just kill you when she had the chance? From the doorway, Wrecker turns his head and says, well, we're just getting warmed up. Omega admits that she doesn't know much about the war, but people can change. Crosshair says that she's being naive, but Omega counters with, I never gave up on you, did I? Crosshair's eyes soften as he looks away. Omega says, they should give her a chance. I do like that. Give her a chance.
The eternal hope spring.
I know. It's the endless well. The following morning, Omega finds Ventress at the docks. Now she and Batcher approach, and Ventress remarks, what? No chaperones this time? Omega replies, nope, adding that it was Ventress who told her no distractions. Asajj turns to look at them and makes eye contact with Batcher, who sits down and gazes back at her.
That's still a distraction.
Yeah. She says that she's surprised Omega even came to find her because her brothers must have told her what she did during the war. Omega says, yeah, they did, but because Ventress didn't leave, Omega thinks that they're actually trying to help them and like us. Asajj calls her a funny little clone. Omega thanks her before asking what the tests told her. Ventress says, well, you failed the first one, but Omega holds up a finger and with a smile, yeah, but I passed the second one, and that has to mean something. As Ventress leads Omega off the dock, she says, we'll see. Arriving at a small fishing boat, she tells Omega to get in. It's time for her final test. Omega scratches Batcher's chin before hopping on into the boat, leaving her there on the docks. As Ventress starts the engine, she tells Omega to stop smiling. She calls it unsettling. That's kind of cool. That's another reflection on, that's not a reflection on Omega. That's a reflection on Ventress. It's making somebody smiling is making her uncomfortable. That's good. That's growth.
And she already said, she's laid it down. You like us.
Yeah, exactly. Now, several miles offshore, Ventress stops the boat. There's a thick mist all around, and Omega looks out uneasily and asks, should we be out this far? Ventress tells her it'll be easier to concentrate. Omega asks, on what? Asajj says that many Force wielders have an affinity for nature. I brought this up a long time ago, and we had that discussion about this. Like, I thought it was an Ezra Bridger thing, and Hank, you were like, it just seems to be like a general Force thing.
Yeah, I had this
I guess
discussion
it
with
is.
Lauren too.
I guess it really is.
It really does. Yeah, seems like everybody and their brother can do it now.
Now
It
everybody
used to be. It was. I mean, when Ezra did it, it was a singular ability, and then it kind of. I think there was something in some lore that said that you had to be born with it, and then Rey did it.
Yeah,
and then the floodgates.
Rey's done it. Grogu's done it. Ahsoka did it with the Purgle. Like
Well,
everybody's doing it now.
even after, because they kind of force fed you it in the last crazy movie there, where she heals the worm just before Grogu did it to show you.
Well, that was a tie-in. They purposely dropped that episode that week to tie that in with the
right,
launch of the film.
Exactly. But I feel like, I would have been okay with Grogu and Ezra being the only ones that could do that. But
I would have been okay if communing with animals was a more specialized, like not everybody can do it.
And I could even wrap my head around perhaps Ahsoka learned it from Ezra.
Oh yeah,
but now it seems like,
now it's just one more thing on the list of that we can all do it. Still, nobody's flying.
No. They still lack some imagination for sure.
Nobody's flying yet.
Yeah, except those dang Inquisitors
with their helicopter, like their go-go gadget sabers.
Yeah.
Asajj says that many Force wielders have an affinity for nature and can connect to things that respond to their energy, and then encourages Omega to try it out. She unfolds what I believe is a pontoon from the side of the boat and beckons Omega to stand on it, close her eyes, and to reach out. When Omega asks, for what? The answer is a blunt everything. Omega closes her eyes and reaches out with her hand.
It's kind of a Mr. Miyagi moment.
I would argue that her ability to tame Batcher is already evidence of this ability.
Yeah, we don't know, Batcher was injured and Omega, is it just because Omega was the one that brought the food and I like you? Or is this more?
Well, when she did put the medicine and whatnot on, Batcher could have ripped her hand off.
That's true. She was quite,
but instead it's like, ooh.
Yeah. No, you're right. There's absolutely the potential is there.
Mm-hmm.
Meanwhile, the boys who are standing on the edge of the landing area all watch through macro binoculars. Wrecker says he doesn't like this and that they should be out on the water with Omega. Excuse me. But Hunter says they gave her their word that they wouldn't intervene. Crosshair makes it a point to correct him by saying, you did. Wrecker goes back to his binoculars and zooms in on Omega standing on the pontoon, but is then suddenly shocked when Ventress turns and looks directly at him.
That's my favorite moment of the whole episode.
Unsettled, he asks, how does she know we're watching? Because she can sense you big buffoon. Dropping her hand and rolling her eyes in frustration, Omega says, it isn't working. Ventress asks if she's giving up so soon. Well, continuing, Omega says she can't feel anything. She doesn't know what she's supposed to be doing, and she calls it a waste of time. A sentiment that will be very closely echoed by one Luke Skywalker in about 20 years.
Yeah. Practically a legacy line.
Yeah, almost.
Yeah.
Ventress blames her brothers for what she calls a lack of training and discipline. Furrowing her brow, Omega puts her hands on her hips and says, I am trained.
Wrong training.
Yeah. Ventress gets up and tells her that this is different, that even if she does have Force potential, her brothers could never show her how to tap into it. Dejected, Omega flops down on the back of the boat with her arms crossed. Noting her poor attitude, Ventress suggests that maybe this is a waste of time. Omega snaps back that Ventress probably doesn't know or understand any of this herself and asks why she should listen to her. That's kind of, it's kind of,
that's overstepping.
Childish.
Yes.
Well, that's
one of those times where we remember,
much like
she's
a child.
kid. She's a kid.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's one of those times where the child in her does shine through very brightly, albeit for the wrong reason.
Mm-hmm.
So it would seem that a demonstration is in fact in order, and
Hold a moment.
Ventress does not disappoint as she places one foot up on the pontoon, then closes her eyes and reaches out. Then Omega looks over the side of the boat in awe as an entire school of green bioluminescent ray-like fish begin to circle the boat. Ventress slowly closes her outstretched fingers into a closed fist before opening her eyes and sighing, "I'm not the one holding back." And then the fish all dart away. Shortly after the fish dart off, a low guttural rumble can be heard before a large kraken-like creature rises from the deep. It circles the boat and sending the boat into a spin. From the shore, Crosshair spots the creature through his scope, and the three brothers make a dash for the marauder. Meanwhile, back on the boat, Omega asks if Ventress has somehow summoned this creature, and she says not intentionally. The creature itself lifts itself out of the water, revealing a large squid-like beak that just so happens to be dripping with the same bioluminescence from the rays that we just saw. So I guess it had a meal on the way up.
And it's official. Bad Batch Season 3 has more kaiju than Skull Island Season 1.
There you go. The women hunker down in the boat, and Ventress at the controls makes a break for the island. But the Leviathan unfurls a pair of monstrous tentacles and slaps the water, upending the boat, dumping them both into the water. At the same time, Hunter and the others take off, and they make like a beeline towards the creature. All right, going back to the episode guide this week, we got a really cool piece of concept art of our new kaiju. This one is called the Varathian. It is a new creature making its debut here. And Hank, you have absolutely said it. And even I am now, I acquiesce. And I've taken the position that it has now become the Bad Batch's own in-joke.
Kaiju of the week.
Yeah, yes.
It's got to be. I mean, yes.
There's no other way to say it.
I'm just being nice. But
well, that is true. I mean,
I'm super tired of kaiju.
I looked at our private chat, and I mean, is it fair to say you were pretty salty this week?
Yeah, I mean, they've got to work hard. I feel like do better. I don't know. Anyway, I'm coming around a little bit. There's lots of redeeming qualities.
The episode is good. Don't get me wrong, but I agree. Like Monster
and the worst. I mean, yeah, this was one of the things that irked me, but the end is far more irksome for me.
Okay, we'll get there. We'll get there.
Well, it kind of flips the Yoda moment, right?
It does.
Hey Yoda, you just picked up the wrong X-wing.
No, that's right. Going back to the kaiju thing though, like, and it's an in-joke. It's an in-joke, especially now, like, oh, it's yet another one. We're 2-3 episodes away. The show has become self-referential. When we had Wrecker, why is it always a big monster?
Yeah.
You, me, both, Wrecker. I don't fucking know.
During that monster, that's the only thing. That line is what made me okay with it.
Yeah.
But it was one too many that time for me already.
No, I hear you.
Yeah.
All right. Varathian, new creature, presumably native to Pabu, that we've never seen before.
There's always a bigger fish.
There's always yes, Qui-Gon. Yes, there is. All right. As the girls surface, the Varathian grabs Omega with one of its tentacles and pulls her under. Ventress dives down after her, avoiding a second tentacle intended to strike at her. Omega futilely pounds away on the tentacle that's wrapped around her legs. Then Ventress ignites her lightsaber and cuts the appendage from its body, releasing Omega before the two of them swim back to the surface and head for the capsized boat. I really liked the underwater stuff. I even was okay with the weird blocky wet hair thing that they tried, which may or may not have worked for everybody.
It wasn't like so dark you couldn't watch it either.
I mean, I've lightened these up considerably to make it look a little bit more presentable. But yeah, you had a very good idea of what was going on.
Absolutely.
Well, the Leviathan, now even more enraged, surfaces and it plows after them. But then blaster bolts strike its carapace as the Havoc Marauder makes a strafing run. Passing overhead, Wrecker continues the barrage from the tail gun, also known as Omega's bedroom. The Leviathan turns to face this new threat as Hunter puts the Marauder into another run. Now, the girls manage to climb out of the water onto the overturned boat, and Ventress tells Omega that the boys are actually making things worse, and she says that she can do this on her own. The Varathian, once again focused on the girls, lashes out with its tentacles, taking hold of Ventress and draws her toward its gaping maw. Omega pulls out her comm and tells Hunter, stop firing, adding that Ventress can handle this. Hunter says, doesn't look like that from up here, but he does stop firing as the Marauder swoops past for the third time.
Kind of a missed opportunity for a tech turn.
Oh, yeah, really, eh? As the Varathian lowers Ventress to towards its open beak, Ventress closes her eyes and holds out her hands, begins to reach out with the force. And before the creature places her into its maw, it stops. Omega watches in utter dismay. Ventress half opens her eyes as she places a hand on the Varathian's beak. Its massive purple eye widens, and the creature very gently places Ventress back onto the overturned boat before it turns away and submerges itself back into the depth. Omega is shocked as she gasps.
Capital V, right?
V, Varathian.
Yeah, capital though, right?
Yeah. Omega is shocked as she gasps, "You did it!" Ventress looks down at her. Don't be so surprised. Well, that's the Yoda moment too, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Do or do not. Well, then the Havoc Marauder drops down in a hover. The boarding ramp opens and Crosshair is there. In turn, he takes each woman in hand and he helps them onto the ship. And I'm going to say it. I'm not saying it has to be, but I'm saying there's an opportunity here. I don't want to get too carried away, but is there something potentially between these two?
Redeemed characters.
Two characters who have been on both sides of the line.
Yep.
That have
I'm
walked.
gonna
both
go.
sides.
I'm gonna say no, but he did have his head between her legs.
It's a kid show.
It is a kid show.
I'm sure that everybody is now, because Asajj Ventress is alive, and we did have that scratch on the wall in Kenobi that Quinlan Vos was here.
Yeah.
I'm sure that the majority of fans are screaming to see these two characters reunited. But I'm just saying, if that doesn't happen, there's an opportunity here.
It's too stingy for her to never be in love and to then roll back all that Jedi, all that Sith stuff, to fall in love and then have that removed. I don't think she makes that leap again, but I mean, possibly. But
do you think that there's if were they to reintroduce Quinlan Vos, do you think that there's an opportunity for them to rekindle?
Oh, he should be dead, or else her character is her arc. She wouldn't arc properly if he's not dead.
Are you saying that the Force lightning blast should have killed him and her?
Well, maybe. That's a hard one.
That he survived because she took the.
For the most part, yeah.
Because it was Quinlan Vos and Obi-Wan that returned her body to Dathomir.
No, that's very true. That's very true.
We do know that in the time of the Kenobi series, which is somewhere around now-ish.
And there's that argument that he's present in the Phantom Menace by, they retcon that scene. So, yeah, I mean, that would be a nice happy ending for her. I would like to see that. With
him scratching his, Obi-Wan, Quinlan was here?
Right.
What? Quinlan was
here? Right.
So
I'd forgotten all about that.
He's
that part.
Potentially out in the wind somewhere.
So that would make me really happy. She deserves something good.
Okay. That's what I'm just saying. If they don't get together, Crosshair is a possibility. Just saying. All right, I'm not going to beat that one. On the Marauder, Omega collapses into one of the crew seats before sighing, "Wow, that was fun." I don't know how much she considers fun. Well, back at the cavern, the batch gathers close to Ventress's ship. When she approaches, Omega asks if she's figured out if she has a high M count. Ventress says that based on what she's seen, no, she doesn't. Still confused, Omega asks, "Then why is the Empire still after me?" Ventress looks away, and she says, "Believe it or not, I don't know everything." Then looking back at Omega, she goes on, "But seeing as how a high M count would make you a target, consider yourself lucky." But Omega says she already is a target. Well, then Wrecker steps in and puts a hand on her shoulder and tells her, "Don't worry about it, kid. We'll figure it out." And then he suggests that the two of them go and get some jow. Omega sighs before thanking Ventress for trying. The two of them share a very small nod before Omega leaves with Wrecker and Batcher. Now, alone with Ventress, Crosshair says to Ventress, "You're lying." But she plays coy and she asks, "About which part?" Hunter says, "You tell us." But Ventress doesn't give them a straight answer. Instead, she tells them that if Omega did have force potential, she would have to be trained, and that would mean leaving them. That
Take her.
I wonder if that ties back to the answer when he's talking about finding out if you're force sensitive. You won't like the answer.
Yeah.
Because that would break up the family.
Same way it did for Grogu, right?
The same way it did for her. Captured at birth as an infant, taken away from her family. The only person she knew as family, Narek, killed. Like, of course,
you could also argue if she is M count high or is force sensitive, could be the will of the force that Asajj take her, and the reason she doesn't take her is because at face value, no, you're not M count positive.
Yeah. That's a great. That's totally possible.
But at the same time, like, she tells them straight out, it would mean her leaving you, and they're like, "No, that's not happening."
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
reinforces she would have to kill them in order to take her.
Yeah, exactly.
And she would not like that answer.
Hunter says that's not happening. Well, Ventress's final words, they are cautionary, and she tells them that it doesn't matter what they want, that the Empire is after her, and they won't stop. Adding, if she were them, she would leave Pabu because they're not as safe as they think they are. She then turns away and starts to walk back to her ship. With one final glance over her shoulder, Ventress tells them that their business is done, and she walks away. Crosshair says he still can't figure out what side she's on. And without looking back, Ventress tells them, "My own." Hunter asks if she's worried about the Empire coming after her. She should be. She pauses and looks over her shoulder. They can try, but I've got a few lives left. Wink, wink, nod. And then she makes for her ship as Hunter and Crosshair leave the cavern to meet up with the others. Outside, Omega watches as Ventress's ship floats out over the water, citing the fog cutting the fog like a knife through butter. The ship angles up and it fades away as it flies off through the mist, and we cut to black. That is the end of our episode. Yeah. Okay. Overall, what do you guys think?
I liked it.
I liked it as well.
I mean, it reinforces you're getting
You really wanted her to go at the end. Like, okay, it's now the Asajj and Omega.
Or I wanted Ventress to stay.
Yeah.
One of the two things there. I maybe it's because I was taken aback by how little I actually cared about those characters, and then I was like, yeah, no, this is do it. Let's just go.
Now, is that just in the moment, like in light of Asajj Ventress coming back? Wow, I don't care about you.
Like, I don't know, but I'm still mad that they just kind of really, really underused her, and that we had nothing that moved the story forward whatsoever at all, and that she was the trailer showcase suggesting that the season, at least in part, would revolve around her.
I thought she was going to be,
and I feel crazy ripped off.
Lauren says the only reason they brought Asajj Ventress back is for live action. I am fully on board with that.
I feel like that's true too.
I am on board,
but I mean, like, I don't know. I feel let down. But
we've got
they're going. I mean, I did say some harsh things in the chat. Like, if it wasn't for the show, I wouldn't watch any more episodes. But
I'm going to stop watching. And I'm like, wait a minute, dude. I know you. You are. You're not going to.
I would watch a rock for 4 hours if Star Wars was written on the side of it.
Exactly.
But I'm still like if she doesn't make an appearance some point in the rest of the season, I will write. Not send, but write a strongly worded letter to Dave Filoni.
Follow-up comment from Lauren. She will have to fight her family.
That's where I think that would, like, if I'm Dave Filoni, like, yeah, that's where I'm cooking. Like, speaking of cavalries, if anybody could show up in the Ahsoka timeline, in that era, to fight a bunch of resurrected Night Sisters,
Asajj Ventress and a trained Omega.
like, well, not even like, so we can abandon that like little like, but picture her and Rosario Dawson, like whoever we pick live action, back to back with lightsabers fighting, like both
Yep.
dual wielding. Like, come on, like if that thought didn't occur to you and you're Dave Filoni, then you're very probably lost the pulse.
I think about like,
I,
you know,
I really think that's a strong.
when I think about what Star Wars is building towards, and I mean the bigger franchise picture, that this Filoniverse movie is going to be the culmination of all these shows. It just
Yeah.
seems like a good fit.
Yes.
That being said, timeline wise, we've got another season of Andor coming, and I know that show is so not laser swords and space wizards,
No.
but you can't rule it out for the timeline aspect of it. It's a little bit closer to now.
Yeah. It's
Yeah.
yeah.
But I agree. I agree with Lauren, and I think that is exactly what's going to happen. That we're
I'd be
headed for a
crazy
live-action.
surprised if the Dathomir witches don't make an appearance in the Acolyte.
Do you think that the great mothers and Asajj will have some kind of? And now there's a thought that Asajj Ventress becomes the next great mother.
I mean,
that'd be something.
That would be something.
But if we're going to do that, then we've got to, because the great mothers operate in threes. And I'm telling you, we got one. If we got Asajj Ventress, we got two. We got Marin
and Seer. Oh, that's
Marin.
what I meant. Marin.
Marin from the Jedi games.
Yes.
Who's our third? As we're spitballing this,
it's
live. Everybody, it's live.
I can't think of a third live one.
No, me neither. And the Marin, the video game actress is motion cap, so the actual actress can play Marin.
Identical. Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Russian girl. But we need a third one.
There's got to be more. I'd have to.
Morgan's dead, so that's not.
I'd have to like put a plunger to my ear, but I'm sure there's probably a third out there in canon.
Well, what happens when Shin Hati takes over?
Shin, do you think Shin?
She's left behind on.
We don't know enough about Shin to really to say. Like, is it possible that she's from Dathomir as well?
Maybe, maybe not. But
is it line up time-wise? I mean,
maybe you
maybe like Mandalorians, you have to. If you're going to restock your culture, you might have to go.
You got to borrow from outside
the species, if you will.
Yeah. That's entirely possible. Nobody says that Night Sister magic is exclusive to the Night Sisters.
No, I'd be super surprised if it isn't sort of central to the Acolyte and the stuff that I've been thinking.
If the Force, if anybody can be a Jedi now, and that is you don't have to have some special, you don't have to have a famous last name or a special, blood count. It's plain language now. Anybody can be a Jedi if they have enough training. So why can't anybody use Night Sister magic? I think it's a fair.
And if we're going a step further,
I'm sure that's what Palpatine was using.
Oh, Sith magic,
Sith sorcery,
right? Some kind of some derivative. I mean, like, remember when we first encountered the Dathomir witches in the courtship of Princess Leia? It was said that they sung their abilities.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly. Well, that has been an intense episode, and I mean, the highlight obviously was the return of this character. I don't think anybody can deny. Now, you're either on the side of like, this is cool, or you're on the side of outrage and, oh my God, she died in that book, and how can they possibly bring her back?
I'm fine with all of that. I just feel like
somehow Asajj Ventress returned.
You just dangled her there to like completely. Anyway, we'll see what happens.
Planting seeds.
I am so okay with the character being alive.
If she doesn't turn up again until the very last episode, the Cavalry episode, is that
even
okay?
That would be fine with me. If she doesn't turn up at all, I won't watch season 4.
Stakes are high. This might be the highest.
You catch that, Wes? I won't watch season 4.
Yeah, exactly. Neither will I. The stakes are probably the highest they've ever been for Star Wars animation right now, in terms of like the bigger picture. But
I kind of know it's like what we said before, or I had mentioned before. We know that that Omega wins, and I don't know like if she wins with her life or if they all die or like Rogue One style, that like this giant sacrifice. But we know that the Emperor doesn't win this round.
Yeah,
because
That's right.
he still
he's
needs
still
Grogu
going.
30 years later.
That's right. While we're talking about all this stuff, and I can't help but think if the hidden path plays into it, but talking about the Jedi games, we still have Tanalorr in play,
Yeah.
and the
Yeah.
Empire does not know where Tanalorr is. Now, Tanalorr, for those of you who don't know, is this hidden world where Cal Kestis is potentially now, who is working, by the way, as part of the hidden path to funnel Force sensitives away from the Empire.
It feels like it
And it would
could
be
be where
an easy
where-
way to sort of write Omega was hiding on Tanalorr the whole time.
Could be.
and it makes sense that Tanalorr might be in the same galaxy where Ahsoka and Sabine are.
Comment from Resolute Rebellion tonight. Just want to say I got to run to work, but I wanted to say thanks for all you guys do. Great content with great guys. You know what?
Wow,
That is
thanks so much, man.
so humbling. Thank you so much. Really appreciate the
Very
support.
cool.
Thank you for watching week in and week out. God, thank you. Yeah, so I wanted to add that that extra little layer that Tanalorr is this
Potential.
yeah
Option.
yeah. Right now we don't know much about
In
it.
all likelihood, they're going to save it for the third,
Of course, that's coming
like
back
it's
for the third
fate
game.
or what have you. But,
Yeah.
yeah. It's very likely that Ahsoka could run into a fully functioning Jedi
Society.
in that other galaxy if things went well for them, and Thrawn is gone and there are
Now-
no existential threats.
I'm going to stick with the Jedi games for a second. We've been sort of chomping at the bit for a live action appearance of Cal Kestis.
Mhm.
What about Cal Kestis turning up as part of the cavalry?
Oh, I think you
I
might
think
need to
he's still
waste an
pretty
episode
young.
introducing him still.
Well,
That's
no,
true.
they introduced him right at the beginning, didn't they?
Not in this. That was Kanan Jarrus.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay,
Caleb
Caleb
Doom.
Doom, wrong.
Caleb
wrong.
Doom. We're definitely not going to see him because we
No.
know how, like
He's
you said, back in Rebels, how distrustful he was of the clones.
Yeah.
I think Cal's even younger than Caleb at this point.
At this point
Yeah.
in time,
He was like 10. I put Caleb around 14 in that first episode, Order 66. He's 14, maybe 16.
Oh yeah, because we had that in a flashback. No, Cal
No.
Kestis would have been a teenager at the time of Order 66 because he was
You
there
think?
for it.
He looks
Yeah,
pretty.
yeah,
He
yeah.
looks pretty young in that scene where he's killing clones. I put him at 10,
Oh, maybe.
but
All
that's
right, well, that's just me.
that's me getting
spitballing.
older too.
That's
Look at that
also
4-year-old driving a car. What the hell's wrong with these kids?
Force sensitive.
that's me projecting. I want to see more Cal Kestis.
Oh, I
And
do
think-
too. I mean, he's a great actor. He's I mean, maybe after the third video game of Cal Kestis show. I know we're moving into movies, but
yeah.
I would easily be on board with that. He has some of the coolest force abilities that I've let them that they've explored. The telemetry thing, like the history of an object, is amazing.
And we've sort of gotten into that in live
With
action
Quinlan
now,
Voss,
too.
like-
Yeah, but we also saw Ahsoka do it in
That's right.
her show as well.
That's right.
So what do we call that? The sense echo, I think is what they were calling it in the game. Yeah. All right. Well, enough about that. We are here to talk about the Bad Batch. This wraps this episode. Moving into next week, which is we're actually talking 2 days from now because we were delayed this week. We've got a double drop in its Identity Crisis and Point of No Return. Point of no return. Not turning back. Can't go back.
Or go home.
Who can't go back? What
Could
can't we
that
go back
suggest
from?
a character death?
Maybe.
Yes, it could. Yeah, absolutely, it could. Who could have anybody could have an identity crisis. But if anybody's been struggling up till
The
now,
worst thing that could happen right now is that Tech
Yeah.
is that CX trooper,
yeah.
and that is the identity crisis.
Well, so the other side of that,
And the point of
is-
no return is him killing Crosshair.
Well, so I was thinking the same thing. I thought identity crisis would be
How tragic to come back from the brink of that only to be killed by
your brother.
right.
So we're thinking two sides of the same coin, because I was going to say Crosshair himself could have some
Take
issues. Yeah.
The CX trooper and find
Yeah. Exactly. I think that there is great potential there. And of course, I've been screaming at the top. Whoever will listen to me, that's the Ex-Clonus tech. I mean, until we find out otherwise, that's what I'm going with. We may find out next week.
Maybe.
Point of no return. You can't go home. Nope. You can never go home. All right, guys.
But you can always come back next week.
That's true. You can come back and see us at our regularly scheduled time.
Mm-hmm.
We'll be back on Sunday nights next week.
Doubles.
Sunday night next week. Yes. Yeah, double. We'll probably be early because are we starting a regular time next week?
I don't know. Depends how long these episodes run, I guess.
We've been averaging between 22 and 24 minutes without our credits. So we could conceivably, we're only an hour and 25 minutes in right now. We could run them both at the same time or at our normal time, or we can start a little bit early if you guys want to.
Yeah, we started early for a 3-episode one. So
we did. Yeah, we did. All right. We'll have it all figured out before next week too. So
here's one for you to chew on though.
Yeah.
Live action Asajj Ventress, Karen Gillian.
Oh yeah.
Nebula.
Yeah. No, as soon as you said that, I'm in.
Yeah.
Nope, I am totally in. Yeah, that's a great fan casting, by the way. We should probably do that. We should probably live action cast all these people.
Yeah. Help Filoni out.
Tamara Morrison. Sorry.
And lots of prosthetics.
I vote Tamara. Yes, I vote Tamara Morrison for everybody. All right. Is there anything else you guys want to chat about before we wrap it up for tonight?
I think that about covers it.
Yeah,
I think it does cover it. Overall, I was very, very pleased with this episode. I had a good time writing this one. I felt very in the zone writing this one, as much as, like I said, I didn't want to narrate that whole fight. I was like, because the visuals just speak for themselves. It's the one time I wish I could just run the video sans no audio, and we just talk over top of it, but we just be like,
Yeah.
Oh my God, that was
it was so good. She's a fantastic martial artist. Can't wait to see more of that.
Yeah.
All right, everybody. Thanks for hanging out with us. This has been the Fan Batch 3.9, the Harbinger. I do hope that you'll come back and see us next Sunday. If you've got nothing to do tomorrow night, you can come back. Andy and I will be back tomorrow night for Random Fandom Tuesday in its 54th edition.
Actually, I think it might be the 6th or 7th.
Wow. Where have I been?
I don't know. We're hitting up on 60.
But anyway, that's our casual hangout show. Come see us tomorrow night. Otherwise, we'll see you next week when we're back for the next episodes of the Bat Batch. Same batch time, same batch channel. And as always, whatever your thing is, fan on, everybody. For Fan and Power, my name is Wes.
I'm Andy.
I'm choking. I'm Hank.
And
no more force choking.
At least two of us will see you on the next one. Bye for now, everybody.